Before we get to our next guest to continue talking about the upcoming 15th anniversary of 9/11 attacks, I want you to watch this.
We were gone about 10 minutes when that portion of the building fell, and I had a number of people there. We haven't found them yet, so I don't know the numbers. I don't know yet.
We're still hopeful that we're gonna find people,
and we
have not given up hope that we're gonna be able to find some people.
We do know there are people in the building that are alive.
All right, folks, that was NYPD Commissioner Bernard Kerik, and that was Mayor Giuliani next to him right after the attacks. And he's also, Bernard is the former interim minister of the Interior of Iraq, former senior policy advisor to the U.S. presidential envoy to Iraq, and author of From Jailer to Jailed, My Journey from Correction and Police Commissioner to Inmate. And Commissioner, good to see you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, when you hear yourself 15 years later talking about, that your men that you probably knew in your heart right at that moment were lost. Maybe you didn't know that we wouldn't find bodies, but you knew they were lost. What goes through your mind today?
You know what, Steve? It's the feelings are no different today than they were on that day. I mean, it's we tried to stay as optimistic as possible, but unfortunately, when you went back to ground zero, as we walked the site later that afternoon, that evening, you just knew that nothing or nobody could live through that, and it was absolutely our darkest day. I lost 23 people that worked for me. We lost 343 firefighters and 37 Port Authority police officers, plus the civilians. And I just want to note, I think this is not focused on enough. We've lost probably more people than died on that day, public servants, since that day as a result of illnesses from ground zero. So they have to be considered in this tragedy as well.
Absolutely. I had Deborah Burlingame on. We're gonna let you, on my noon show. We're gonna play it again in a next segment. And I asked her about her brother Chick, who was the pilot of American Airlines 77. I mean, time heals wounds, they say, and now 15 years between the event and where we are today. But you said something very interesting, that the feeling for you when you see that is basically the same.
You know why, Steve? I think for the people that were there, keep in mind, I was a block away from the towers as I watched, probably dozens of people fall from Tower 1. I was standing in front of Tower 2 when that big fireball comes out of the north side of the tower. That was above me. The debris, the plane, the building showered down on top of me and the people I was with. Those are things you don't forget. You sort of live with those memories daily. I mean, some of the guys that worked for me, many, they've seen more death and destruction that would haunt people for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's just something that never leaves you.
Two things that have taken place I want to get to while we have time. One, and I don't think it's a coincidence in the timing. I think he does this on purpose. Barack Obama has shut down one of the cell blocks, Camp 5 it's called, at Guantanamo. That's on the eve of the anniversary. Your feelings on the immense transfer of prisoners out of that camp and by Obama, and the closing of one of the actual cells?
Well, I've been against the closing for a long time, number one. Number two, I'd really like to know where those people are going. I think the recidivism rate back to combat against the West, against us, is between 30 and 40% that we know of. Where are they going? Where are they sending them? How do we guarantee that they're not going to be, killing our people somewhere abroad or here? I just think it's wrong.
Another bill that was passed by the House, it had previously been passed by the Senate. It was passed on a voice vote by the House, which indicates overwhelming support. Senate, I think, passed it unanimously. The president says he'll veto it, but I guess they could override it. It was just passed by the House today, allowing the families of the victims of 9/11 to sue the government of Saudi Arabia. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's something I've been for. Look, if they didn't have anything to do with 9/11, okay, so be it. But if they did, they should be held accountable. And, they shouldn't be given a free ride. So if there's evidence that they were involved and the families have that evidence and they want to pursue it legally, they should be allowed to do so. I don't see how the White House, how anybody could stand between the families and justice. It shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Can you, when you look at the overall picture of where we are, when you look at a Hillary Clinton who says Muslims have absolutely nothing to do with terror, a president who says we can't say Islamic terror, we can't say this, we can't say that, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't let the FBI talk to this one or talk to that one or ask this question, could you have conceived in the weeks after 9/11 that 15 years later we'd be bending over backwards to go the other way?
Honestly, Steve, I would have never thought that, but I've come to learn really close up and personal how people forget, how we become less vigilant, how we have no patience, no long-term patience, and that's where we lose with this enemy, because they have all the patience in the world. They're going to sit us out, they're going to wait, and they're going to come back. We've seen it time and time again. I think the enemy has grown far greater than they were on September 11th. And I think it's only a matter of time before we get hit again. I've said it continually since then.
Right.
And we need people in the White House that understands the enemy, and they're not afraid to take them on.
Absolutely. Bernard Kerik, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it very much.
Steve, thank you.
All right, my pleasure. Up next, folks, as mentioned, Deborah Burlingame, sister of Charles Chick Burlingame, the pilot of hijacked American Airlines flight number 77 that was flown into the Pentagon. We aired it in the 12 o'clock show, and we'll do it again when we come back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.